The thing is there's a few reasons. Just kind of thinking of this, kind of like off the cuff. I remember a couple of times when I was younger, going through, I guess it could be called gender dysphoria. The first time was when I was a young kid. I really admired women and the way they looked, and I just thought it was amazing, and I kind of wanted to be like them. And so that was one phase. But the second phase, and probably the most interesting and probably more pertinent to the conversation that we're having right now, is when I realized for sure that I was a homosexual man. I went through a period where I wished that I was a girl, because I felt then at least my attraction to men would be considered normal. And that was a very difficult period of time for me to go through. I mean, I'm glad that I'm still a man and that nothing happened to me, and that I wasn't allowed to transition or anything. I mean, I brought this up actually under the rotunda of the state capitol of Missouri. I talked about this whole situation in front of a bunch of people. And, it was just a very confusing point of time in my life, just because, as a gay person, even though things are people are more accepting now. I mean, as a gay person, you still understand that you are outside of the norm. And there is something frightening, I guess, about that. When you're realizing that no matter how accepting people may be about it. And so, I think that we're dealing with a lot of kids who went through the exact same thing that I went through, where they're wishing they could change themselves so that they can fit into society better. And it's sad, because I think they're being exploited by the medical industry.
So I do want to touch on that a little bit about identity and wanting to be a different identity. I think a lot of, mind you, I know you and I are speaking as individuals. We're obviously, a millennial here for myself, born 1985. So it was growing up and coming to terms with the fact that I'm a homosexual. That was a different process, a different journey than what children are being exposed to today, and I do believe even encouraged. But I want to talk a little bit about the stereotypes. So it's interesting to me, on the left, is that you often hear about, gender stereotypes are horrible. Girls don't always like pink. Girls don't always want to wear dresses, all this stuff. Yet, ironically enough, a lot of the people, especially parents, when they talk about their children, my child is trans, and I believe they're trans because they want to dress like a girl. Like, he wants to dress like a girl, or she wants to dress like a boy. He really likes pink. He really only wants to hang out with other girls. Doesn't want to wear this, doesn't want to wear that, likes this cartoon character. And we've seen this. So there's a bit of irony there, that the side that's arguing against gender stereotypes they're using gender stereotypes to root this push, and to look for what they consider signs that a child might be trans. And I think back to my own youth, to be honest. I am so thankful that my mother just let me live my life. I gave a speech recently at a school board meeting that after my mother, I dropped my book. After my mother passed away, 2004, shortly after I turned 24 years old, I found out some stories about my mother. That when I was around 5 years old, my mother told my father that she thought I was going to be that way, that I was going to like guys. When I was around 14, my mother was on the phone with one of my older sisters, and somehow my personal life came up in conversation. And my sister said, "Oh, I'm sure in a couple of years, he will have some girl pregnant and, all this stuff and be married." And my mother said, "No, not Kevin. He'll never be with a woman." Now, interesting enough, what did my mother do with these thoughts, with this, with what she believed, I ultimately end up being? Did she come out and say, "Son, I think you're gay. Let's go to a pride parade"? Did she say, "Oh, homosexuality is evil, sinner"? She didn't say anything to me. My mother didn't impose anything on me. My mother did the most amazing thing. She gave me the most amazing gift. She just let me live my life. I have no memories of my mother speaking in positive ways or negative ways of homosexuality when I was a child. And I thank my mother to this day for giving me that gift. Now, when I was a child, I remember certain things. I liked Xena, Warrior Princess. I preferred Pocahontas, right? I preferred hanging out with the girls, and I actually did play dolls. I remember being upset when my older sister was pregnant, and my mom explained to me that only girls could get pregnant. Boys can never get pregnant. I remember being so upset that I was never going to be able, because I was 4 years old at the time, 4 going on 5, and I just remember being really upset by this. And so I remember a lot of these interests, a lot of these habits that I had when I was a child. That if I had the parents of today, these progressive parents, I absolutely am terrified of how I would have ended up. I don't know if I would be sitting here as someone who grew up to be comfortable being a man. I worry that I might have been pushed in the direction to transition, because when I was younger, I showed a number of feminine attributes, interests.
Right, and that's exactly what I'm getting at with myself. It's like, under the right circumstances, and if I had crazy enough parents, I probably would have been transitioned myself. I mean, I liked dressing in girls' clothes. I liked wearing makeup. My cousin Christy would put makeup on me and everything, and I loved it, and I thought it was great. And so under those circumstances, yeah, I can't help but think that that's exactly what would have happened to me. Thankfully, like you, I had parents that just kind of let me be myself. And when I finally came out to them, then it wasn't like, it was good because they took a positive approach then, because they realized that they at first they were shocked, totally shocked. They actually had no inclination that I was gay. I mean, I was in wrestling and played soccer, and I was like such a typical boy in high school, and so they were shocked that I was gay. And anyway, when I came out to them, the amazing thing that they did is that I personally saw was a gift, is that they actually did say it's okay. And so it's kind of a tricky situation with like what you're saying, as far as like what your mom did. She didn't go one way or another. I don't know. It's like, on one hand, it's kind of like, well, maybe it would be good if parents would, make, if they suspect that their kids are gay, maybe go ahead and, let them know that, hey, that's okay if that's the way you are.
See, for me personally, and I don't mean to cut you off with that, is me personally, if your child isn't expressing something to you directly in general, For me, my personal perspective, because I've had people across the political spectrum. I've had even some conservatives that I know come up to me because I'm a gay man. I guess it makes me an expert on the situation, just as it does you.
Right.
Gay, of course. They ask, I think my child might be gay or lesbian, or I think they might be trans. What should I do? And I ask them, I'm like, well, first of all, has your child expressed this to you? And many times they'll say no. And my response is, let your kid be a kid.
Yeah, I honestly don't disagree with that. I don't. But at the same time, I think a parent could maybe slip in a comment here or there. It's like, gay people are fine. Just so that their kid feels okay. Because I remember being very, very scared. And that's probably also why I had the gender confusion as well. So, having someone let me know that it was okay to be gay might have been helpful. And unfortunately, I did not have that.
See, the problem ultimately I have is that generally the people that really push the okay to be gay message, at least politically and culturally, tend to over everything. They're not just like, it's okay to be gay. They're like, let me give you a pride flag. Let me give you a pride necklace. Let me put you in heels and dress. They're not just like, okay, you're homosexual. Okay. All right.
No, you're right. You're right about that. No, you're totally right about that. And I totally agree with you. I absolutely agree with you 100%.
So I do want...
The only thing that I'm talking about is like, just a parent just maybe passing on the message that you're gay, that's okay.
I guess how I would advise, because I do want to move us forward. We're going so quickly with time. But I guess ultimately, let me know if you would agree with this. I guess the message that I would encourage parents to give their children doesn't even have to be one that references sexuality at all. I guess the message that I feel parents need to get across to their child is this: you are my child. My love for you is unconditional. There is nothing you could say to me that would make me stop loving you. Will I agree with you on everything? No. But I need you to understand that nothing you tell me could make me stop loving you. That is what I feel, because I feel like that covers so many things that could be going on in a child's head, in a young person's head, about, things in their life, things they're starting to discover or think or maybe get confused about. That if they know that their parent, no matter what, will have that unconditional love, might not agree with them, but will have that unconditional love, I think that covers all the bases personally. And that to me would be an approach that I would recommend.
I don't disagree with you on that. I think that is certainly one way to approach it. I did have my parents say that to me, and I guess it still wasn't quite good enough. It would have been nice to have... See, here's the thing. My parents said that to me, but then they also said negative stuff about homosexuality at first, until they knew that I was homosexual. And so while I agree with you, I guess I might slightly disagree on the sense that, parents know their kids. And, if you think that your kid might be gay, you don't have to groom them, because that's stupid and dumb. And of course, you can't make anyone gay or straight. It just is what happens. But
you can sure as heck confuse them.
But you can... Exactly. You can confuse them, for sure. But, I don't think there's anything wrong with, passing on a message to your kids that says, it's like, hey, it's okay to be gay. If, not directed at them, but just to let them know that it's okay to be gay.
And I get what you mean, like in a general concept.
That's exactly.
I do. I guess, with me, I guess it's more with my increasingly stronger, growing conservatism, where I tend to be, very I'm not going to mention anything to the kid unless they ask me a direct question. No, no, but it's kind of thing. But so
I understand that. I
just think that I think adults often when they talk about topics with children, they go way too in depth than what they need to. I think that's where we get a lot of that inappropriateness.
Yeah, I actually spoke at a school board meeting about